morning everyone, Dr. Nat here. So we are going to talk about sectional views today. So sectional views is commonly called sections, and it is used for three main purposes, which is to show the interior detail that is too complicated, or if you were going to show it as a regular view, it would have many hidden lines. So we're not in favor of hidden lines most of the time. So this is when you would use sectional views. And then this is also to document how multiple parts are to be assembled or built, and also to facilitate dimensioning. This would be the case when you are having difficulties to label the dimension because the internal features are too complicated, or there are too many internal features and you would have to have a lot of dimensions. So this is when you would use the sectional views. So let's see what are the cases. Okay, so the necessity of a section view. So first of all, you have this object, and you know that if you were to draw it, if you were to present the orthographic view, you would present it with this view and also from one side. This would be your top view. Sorry, this would be your front view, and this would be your top view, or either or. And then this is what you would get typically, right? But here you can see that your front view has a lot of hidden features or hidden lines. So internal features make a view difficult to read or dimension. If the answer is yes, you would use the section view. If no, then you would just use the regular view. So here, if I were to label the dimension, that would be like I have to label over here, I would have to label over here, and I would have to label over here. So there's a lot of dimensioning going on, but I have to label the dimensions outside of the object. So it gets rather complicated. So if it is hard to dimension the object or the view, then you would go to section view. And section view is represented by, this is not how we typically do the section view. This is just to facilitate you on where it is cut. So that it is cut over here, right? So this is what you would get if you were to present the section view, and this is the orthographic view of a section. So here you can see that they used hatching, which represents that this is not a hole, whereas the place where they don't have the hatching is actually a hole, or I would say it is not filled. Okay, continuing. So a sectional view frequently replaces one of the regular views. We have seen this earlier on. For example, over here, we replace this guy with a section view. And in this case, they have this object and they want to present the section view because, there's a lot of internal structures going on and you would only see the hidden lines. So section view is an excellent way to represent the internal features and also for dimensioning. So this would be your front and this would be your top. So here, this is how you would label the section view. This is it looks like a center line, but instead of just a center line, you would have the arrow, and the arrow would present your eye view. Okay, so this is your line. Sorry, this is your line, and this is your arrow, which indicates your eye view, and this is the view that you would get, which is your eye view. Okay. So you see that there are a lot of internal features, and now I can, do the dimensioning nicely. We're going to talk about dimension later on. Okay, so this would be the section view. Remember, if you have a circle or something that is circular, you would have the center line. So a regular front view is replaced by a front view in section. And then we have the cutting plane lines. As I mentioned to you before, the section view, to indicate your section view, you would have to have like a line with arrows, and the line can be a thick center line or a thick phantom line. So center line, we know that it has this feature, whereas a thick phantom line it would have like 2 dots instead. Or you can also use a broken visible line. So you would use a broken visible line if your front view over here has a lot of it has a lot of features. Whatever features that you have, you don't want to mess it up, so you can have a broken visible line. So again, this is your cutting plane lines. This is where your eye view is. Let's move from here. So this is what you're going to see. Cutting plane line indicates direction of sight. So the cutting plane line can be omitted when it corresponds to the central line of the part and it is obvious where the cutting plane lines. So for a circle or a circular view, you know that you have to have the center line, and if the center line is already overlapping the cutting plane line, so you can just basically omit the arrows and just proceed with your regular center line, and the audience or the reader would know that, okay, so there's no section line here, but I'm seeing a section. So basically the section line would be overlapping the center line that I'm seeing. So it could be from here or from here, because basically they show you the same thing, so it doesn't really matter. Just now we were talking about cross plane lines. So now we're talking about section lining, which means that how do you line the section? So section lining, sometimes referred to as cross hatching, we know hatching for sure, can serve a double purpose to indicate that the surface has been theoretically cut and makes it stand out clearly, thus helping the observer to understand the shape of the object or to indicate the material of the object. So you have your regular view over here. Here they decided to have the section line. They are using a thick center line with arrows. And then instead of just presenting it like this, they have the hatching to clearly show you that this side is not filled, whereas this side is filled with some material. So the section lining has to be 45 degrees with your outline. So this is your outline, right? So it has to be 45 degrees. It cannot be parallel or not 45 degrees. So these are examples of not good section linings. So here we have a spacing that is irregular between the lines that are too close, this is also not good. Varying line width is also not good. Lines that are too thick is also not good. And lines that is overrunning the outline, you can see that you have these like little lines extending outside the outline. This is also not good. So if the section lines that you draw 45 degrees with the horizontal would be parallel or perpendicular, if it's going to be parallel or perpendicular to the outline, then the angle should be changed to 30, should be changed to 30, 60 or some other angle. So this is an example of me using 45 degrees with the horizontal. So this is the horizontal, right? And I'm drawing 45 degrees with the horizontal for my section line, and you would see that it is actually parallel to the outline over here. So we don't want something that is parallel or perpendicular to the visible outline. So therefore you would change the angle of your section lining to be 30 degrees or 60 degrees like this one. This is also another instance. So here you would see that it is 90 degrees, which is perpendicular to the visible outline, and this is what we don't want. This is parallel and this is perpendicular. Both are bad examples. Okay, moving on. And then how do we align the section? First of all, we talked about it should be 45 degrees, and sometimes we can indicate the material by following these symbols. For example, if it's just the regular 45 degrees line, then it would indicate iron and general purpose use for all materials. which is what we used earlier on. And then for cork, you would use it like this. This is for marble. This is to indicate earth. This is to indicate steel, bronze, magnesium, aluminum, and aluminum alloy. And then this is rock. A rock is like almost similar to earth. You have sound insulation over here. If you're drawing something that is supposed to serve as a sound insulation, you would use this. And then rubber, plastic, electrical insulation, sand, white, metal, zinc, lead, babbitt, and also alloy. And I can't see what this is. Concrete with grain or wood. So this looks like wood, water, and other liquids. So this is why you can't just use whatever symbols that you like, because a certain symbol indicates a certain material. So you don't want to confuse your audience or your readers. And then section lining, sections that are too thin for effective section lining, such as sheet metal items. You have like something that really thin, therefore it may be shown without section lining, or the area may be filled in completely. So this is like super small. If you were to like present earth or metal, let's see what is going to be complicated here. So if I were to present the section lining with grain wood, or like with sound insulation, it would be difficult to have that shown here, right? Because it has to have like a certain size to use the section lining. So if it is too thin, and you've seen this happen with your center line, if your object is like too small, the center line does not show up properly. This is the same case for your section lining. If it is too thin, the lines won't appear correctly, right? Because they only show you, let's say sound insulation is like this, they would only show you like this part only, and you're wondering, oh, why do I have a section lining with one hole? So it becomes weird, a little bit weird. So instead of using the section lining, you would just fill it in completely and indicate it as your note. You can do that, or you can just use the symbol as it is and hope that your reader is not going to be confused. Okay, so what is full section? So when a part is cut fully in half, the resulting view is called the full section. This is what we've seen so far, a full section, because we are cutting it completely. So this is another instance of full section, cutting it completely across the object itself. And this is your front view. You're indicating you have your thick center line with your arrow indicating your eye view. This is your cutting plane line, and this is what your section view would look like with the section lining with 45 degrees. This is general multi-purpose section lining. So this is half section. Half section is a view of an assembly or object, usually symmetrical, showing one half of the view in section. So instead of cutting it completely, you would cut it as half of the full section. A half section exposes the interior for one half of the object and the exterior for the other half. So this is when you want to show the outside of your object like this, because it is important for you to show it. If it's not important, then you don't need it. So remember, the wording half section can be confusing because one thinks of showing half the part. Remember, a half section shows 1/4 of the part, not half. Half is basically the full section, and 1/4 is basically the half section. And then you have your half sections again. The cutting plane cuts halfway to the axis or center of the object. So basically, you know that your center line extends like this, but this is for full section, and half of this would be your half section. So this is going to be your direction of sight for section. And as you can see here, the part that they cut out, they bring it over here, and this is called the exploded view. Basically, it's guiding the reader on where it was cut out from and what are the external features of the thing that they cut out. And for the direction of the side for section, you can see that there is a line here, and also there is a line here and also a line here, and there is an arrow over here. So instead of 2 arrows, you only have 1, and that is for your half section. So this is how the orthographic view would look like for the top and also the front. So this is the front, and they only have 1 arrow indicating that this is going to be a half section, and this is how it would look like. So basically half of it shows you the internal features, the other half give you the external features. Hidden lines may be given in unsectioned half, or if necessary for dimensioning, use a center line to divide between section and unsectioned half of view. So here they are using the center line to indicate that there are 2 sides to the view, which is one is section and another unsection. And then we also have offset sections. In order to include features that are not in a straight line, the cutting plane may be offset or bent so as to include several planes or curved surfaces. So here you have several internal features, and this is your center line being offset by, let's say, 10, offset, let's say, by another 10, and this arrow indicates your eyesight. So you would get something that is crossing across these internal features, and this is what you would see. Okay, and they have section lined it with the general multipurpose section lining. So another example of offset sections, here you have holes here and holes here, holes over here and here, and basically they are not aligned in a straight line. So if I were to draw a straight line, they don't follow this straight line because they are everywhere. So you can indicate your section, your cutting plane lines like this. So you have your offset, and this is your direction of eye, and this is what you would get for your section view. Okay, that's the end of the first part of this lecture. I'll see you in the next one.